Panic is beginning to quietly set in across South Philadelphia, and has nothing to do with the stifling August humidity. When a front office aggressively alters the landscape of a franchise by moving on from a generational anchor, the margin for error shrinks to absolute zero. Every single decision becomes a lightning rod. Every missed practice rep transforms into an ominous warning sign, and every explosive flash on the gridiron carries the heavy weight of an entire city's expectations. Right now, the franchise finds itself standing at a terrifying crossroads, caught between the brilliant promise of a high-stakes roster overhaul and the mounting anxiety of soft tissue injuries threatening to derail a championship window before it even swings open. But roster building in the National Football League is a relentless, unforgiving machine. While the coaching staff scrambles to patch together a banged-up lineup, the front office is forced to scour every corner of the football universe just to keep the wheels turning. The early weeks of an NFL summer always carry a dual personality. On one side, there is the intoxicating optimism of clean slates and golden opportunities. On the other side lies the brutal physical toll of training camp, where every grueling session claims its victims. As the practice fields of South Philadelphia sweltered under oppressive heat, the medical tent saw a steady stream of traffic that would make any general manager hold their breath. When soft tissue strains and nagging injuries start piling up during the opening weeks of August, the depth chart is immediately put to the ultimate stress test. Major pieces found themselves watching from the sidelines, creating a sudden vacuum that demanded immediate answers. Who steps up when the starters are forced to ice their hamstrings? How does a complex playbook continue to evolve when key playmakers are trapped in the training room? The answers came swiftly from the front office, which wasted zero time injecting fresh competition into the locker room through a flurry of strategic roster adjustments. Among the new arrivals is a defensive tackle whose journey back to Philadelphia feels straight out of a Hollywood script. Born and raised just outside the city limits, a local kid who once starred at Harry S. Truman High School has officially found his way home. After carving out a gritty path through regional college football, stopping at Westchester University and Lafayette before anchoring a ferocious defensive front at Miami that stormed all the way to a national championship game, the undrafted rookie defensive tackle is getting his shot with the Birds. Despite hovering around a lighter playing weight of 287 to 290 pounds, his relentless motor and collegiate production have earned him a coveted uniform. Yet, he wasn't the only newcomer walking through the facility doors. The backfield also received a massive injection of size and power with the arrival of a bruising running back who carved his path through Austin, Utah, and finally the SEC at Arkansas. Standing at 6'2" and weighing 233 pounds, this runner brings a punishing physical presence that earned him a spot on a practice squad last year. With over 2,000 rushing yards and 29 touchdowns across his collegiate career, his hard-nosed running style provides an intriguing counterpunch to the offensive scheme. Rounding out the wave of reinforcements is a familiar face returning to familiar grounds. A former consensus All-American out of East Carolina who originally entered the league as a sixth-round draft pick. Having spent multiple seasons embedded in the franchise's ecosystem before stints across the league, his veteran savvy brings an instant sense of stability to a roster battling the inevitable attrition of an NFL summer. To clear the runway for these new arrivals, tough business decisions had to be executed. Running back Elijah Mitchell was placed on injured reserve, while guard Jaden Roberts and promising undrafted tight end Wright were waived, signaling just how ruthless the path to the final 53-man roster truly is. When you combine suffocating humidity, consecutive weeks of heavy contact, and players fighting desperately for their professional lives, friction is not just expected, it is mathematically guaranteed. The boiling point finally arrived during a high-intensity practice session that sent shockwaves across the facility. What started as another routine, physical trench battle quickly escalated into a massive, full-scale scuffle that required immediate intervention from the entire coaching staff. As the bodies piled up and the competitive juices boiled over after a fierce rep, offensive linemen and defensive stalwarts locked horns in the dirt. Players had to be physically pried apart from the ground as tempers flared under the blazing sun. For outsiders, training camp fights are often viewed with alarm. But inside the walls of an NFL facility, veteran competitors see it differently. In the dead of August, when fatigue sets in and the dog days of summer test every ounce of mental toughness, a little fire can sometimes reveal the beating heart of a competitive contender. Yet, the physical cost of that competitive fire cannot be ignored. The injury report read, like a casualty list from a battlefield. Key playmakers across the roster were forced to spectate, leaving massive question marks lingering over the offensive and defensive structures. But while veterans heal and role players fight for survival, the absolute focal point of the franchise's future remains wrapped in layers of mystery and growing concern. Every franchise-altering draft selection comes with an expiration date on patience. But what happens when the player tasked with carrying the torch cannot even step onto the field? The decision to aggressively maneuver in the draft to secure a dynamic offensive weapon was supposed to signal a brilliant new era, especially following high-profile roster shifts. This rookie playmaker was projected to step in immediately and electrify the offensive scheme. Instead, his summer has been defined by a frustrating, repetitive cycle of rehabilitation. It all began in the spring, when a lingering hamstring strain forced him to miss mandatory minicamp. For any rookie stepping into the dizzying complexity of a modern NFL offense, missing those foundational reps is devastating. The learning curve is already practically vertical. Missing crucial installations turns that climb into a sheer cliff. Just as optimism flickered back to life with his return to the practice field, disaster struck again. A sudden range injury of the exact same hamstring shelved him for multiple consecutive practices, plunging the fan base right back into anxiety. Medical history paints a worrying picture. Experts point to a recurring pattern stretching back through his collegiate career, strains popping up with concerning regularity. Soft tissue injuries are notoriously tricky. Once a hamstring becomes a chronic issue, it can mentally and physically handcuff an explosive athlete. Whispers from insiders have already begun to suggest that he is unlikely to secure a primary starting role out of the gate when the regular season kicks off. The mental hurdle of learning a complex system combined with the physical inability to build chemistry on the field creates a massive developmental roadblock. Yet, history suggests that panic might be entirely premature. Fans need only look back at the masterclass of patience demonstrated just a year prior with another high-profile rookie. That young defensive star also spent his pre-draft process recovering from a major injury, suffered a hamstring setback at the dawn of training camp, and didn't touch the preseason field until late August. The coaching staff slow-played his integration, keeping him on ice until the coaching staff felt absolute readiness. The result, a stellar rookie campaign followed by a meteoric rise to all-pro status. Can the coaching staff pull off the exact same developmental magic trick with their prized offensive rookie, or will these recurring physical setbacks permanently stall a promising career before it ever truly begins? The answer might depend entirely on the unexpected hero currently stealing the show on the other side of the field. While the medical staff works overtime to nurse the injured back to health, the practice field demands absolute accountability. And right now, one particular underdog is putting on a clinic that is impossible to ignore. Out of nowhere, an unheralded talent who spent last season turning heads as a training camp sensation has taken the next massive leap forward, operating seamlessly with both the primary and secondary units. This former standout from a smaller collegiate program has transformed himself into the most dominant player on the turf. Day in and day out, he is dismantling coverage schemes in every conceivable way. Whether burning elite cornerbacks down the sideline on deep balls delivered with pinpoint accuracy, or creating separation across the middle against veteran linebackers, his route-running mastery has left defensive coordinators searching desperately for answers. The chemistry he is building with the franchise's cornerstone signal caller is palpable. Every time number 9 lets the ball fly toward his direction, positive momentum follows. It is a fairy tale trajectory that has completely rewritten the narrative of the summer. At this point, etching his name onto the initial 53-man roster isn't just a safe bet. It is an absolute certainty. The real question now is just how many explosive snaps he will command when the real games begin under the blinding lights of September. As the preseason curtain finally rises and the smell of game day grass fills the air, the true test of this roster begins. The stakes could not possibly be higher. Can the front office's calculated risks pay off on the gridiron? Will the local products and hungry, undrafted fighters carve out lasting legacies in midnight green? Can a hobbled rookie phenom heal in time to salvage his transcendent potential? Or will the unexpected rise of training camp legends completely reshape the offensive identity of the team? The answers are coming faster than anyone realizes. The lights are blazing, the crowd is roaring, and the journey toward destiny is officially underway.